Hi everyone, this is Erin from Sandpaper Road, and this is part 4 of the 6-part tutorial for making a mini album, and we're using the Age of Technology paper collection by Craft a Clock. I love this paper, and if you missed the first 3 videos in the tutorial, they're linked in the description box below. Also, if you're interested in picking up this paper collection for yourself, so that you can follow along, make this project yourself, or just for your other crafting needs, there's a link where you can pick it up in the Sandpaper Road shop in the USA. So this is the 3rd page of the album, and I am just using some of the, well, I guess I should explain that the page itself, the black page that you see, is part of the 8x12 paper collection. That size, and then the smaller paper that I was just cutting and this scrap here that you see, these are left over from the 8x8 size collection, and I'm using both of those collections actually to create the mini album. Along with that, there's extras to cut sheets, decorative cards. Each of the paper collections on the back has like tags printed, and other little embellishments that you can cut out, which I think is really smart. They use the back of their packaging to include some fussy cut extras. So I think that should pretty well catch you up if you missed the first videos. But like I said, definitely do check them out. It's fun I like to watch other people make mini albums and crafts, and don't you know, I did not edit this out. Here is where I was in such a rush to put this page down, or this scrap down, that I just put it crooked, just enough where I would notice it. So I used a little bit of undo to release that, and it came right up. Now I'm folding this paper in half just to get a center line, and using my circle punch to punch just a little notch in the side. This is actually going to be a pocket, a side pocket, so I'm going to attach it down 3 sides only. And I'm using score tape. I use, I think, a combination of score tape and liquid adhesive and just a bunch of different things for the project. Now there is a complete supply list for this project and a list of specific measurements when they're used, and those are available over on the Sandpaper Road blog. And there's a link below for that. Now look what I am doing here. That sometimes I get to be really particular when it comes to certain things, and other times I'm not. But this, I laid it down just enough of not straight so that you could see that it was, you could just see that it was crooked, and it was really getting on my nerves. And part of me wanted to just leave it, and then I thought, no, I just can't, because I'm going to see it every time. So if you haven't tried undo before, I actually really recommend it. I don't use it on every single project, but when I need it, I am really glad that I have it on hand. One bottle of, I think it's a 4-ounce bottle. I think it's around $8, which I think is, personally, I would rather spend $8 somewhere else. When it comes to crafting, I mean, you could get a few rolls of tape or whatever, but when I finally broke down and bought the undo, I was so happy that I did. It actually saved me a lot of headaches. So here I'm working with some more of these scrap pieces. This pattern paper not only is it just beautiful design, really good for masculine projects, steampunk, Father's Day projects, but not only is the design great, but it's really strong. So you're looking at 250 GSM for the pattern paper, the extras, all of that. There's an example of some of those tags that were on the back of the packaging. And what I'm going to do is use them as like a pull, like something that's at the top of that little pull tag so that you could pull it out of the top. So it will stick up just slightly. Usually what I do, you can see there I've got that plastic tray. That's one of those, it's like a drawer out of a plastic little craft shelf or whatever. And if I'm working on a project, then I leave all of my scraps, cut aparts, papers, embellishments, metal, just everything. I leave it in the drawer. And then when I'm ready to work on it, I pull the whole drawer out, take it to my area, and then I could just toss everything in the drawer and put it back. And it's good because sometimes when you're working on one project, especially if it takes a long time, you know how sometimes you get tired of looking at the paper, the same design paper, and you need to change it up to change your brain. So I like that. I will have like 2 or 3 projects going on at once, but then you can change it real easy just by putting the tray away, the drawer away, and then pulling it back out when you're ready. So here I glued the 2 of these tags together, but I did not glue them at the bottom yet because I'm going to put them on the top of that little piece of pattern paper. I tried to trim the end because it wasn't very even, and then I was trying to use my scissors and my corner rounder and just trying to clean it up a little bit is all. Now, if you're using scissors, or if you don't like, if things aren't just quite all the way straight, you can always take like a sanding block or a piece of sandpaper and just go along the edges a little bit, and that will sort of disguise any imperfections. As a matter of fact, I think that's about what I'm going to do here. Yeah. And then you really don't notice then if it's straight or not straight, because that creates a sense of unity, like whatever it is supposed to be that way. Now just a little liquid glue. Now, the way that I work on mini albums is I work on each page individually, like flat outside of the album. And then at the last possible second, or when I just can't do anything else until I do this step, then I put the pages inside the album. It just makes it easier for me because I don't have the bulk of the cover and the bulk of just the other pages. I can just work flat. Look at all this paper. I love it so much. Probably the most time-consuming part of the project is the decision making. Just deciding which papers to use where. Now, I really don't measure, as you can clearly see. I do when it comes to the cover and the chipboard pieces, and when I'm creating the hinge, like the spine and things like that. But for the inside, I really don't. And if you are an exact measurement person, like I said before, you can you can check out the blog where I have the measurements for the things that I measured. The rest of them, though, like this, it probably would have been so much easier if I just would have measured, but oh no. I just wanted it to look a certain way, and I almost had to just see it. That looks really good. I like the way the circle comes out of the side like that. And then that tag comes out at the top. But I think what I'm going to do here is, well, I was trying to decide which way I wanted that to face, but I like the circle coming out. So I'm going to use the corner rounder to round the edges of that and make it look like it was meant to be that size in the first place. Stick it in that way. It looks good. There's some other cut aparts, decorative cards from the pack and other scraps. And I was wondering if I was going to make another additional piece to go in there. But I thought, well, we'll just wait on that and see what we want to do. Now, a person can put a photo there. They could put a photo there on the other side. I have some copper type twine and some red hemp string. I was using those actually on one of the other pages in a previous video, so they were still on my table. I know it's hard to see, but there's a little bit of red, just a little bit of red in the paper collection. And so I like to bring out those hints of color with accents, like string, ribbon, metal, things like that. And I'm just doing a simple tie on the top. That looks good. So let's work on the back then of this page. And I'd like to do something interesting, something that maybe folds out to the side, like an accordion. Now this is craft cardstock from my stash. It's a really lightweight. I think it's maybe 65-pound weight. And when I saw what I had trimmed it to, I thought to myself, well, now wait a minute. Why don't I just, if I'm going to cover that, well, I was going to score it then and make the accordion. Then I was going to cover that accordion piece with some of the pattern paper. While I was sitting here trying to measure and score, I was thinking to myself of the possibility of just using a piece of the pattern paper itself. Look at that with the clock and all the gears. It looks so good. So I thought, well, what's the difference? If I use a craft piece of cardstock and then cover it with this cardstock, why don't I just, or cardstock, this pattern paper, why don't I just use the pattern paper? Especially because it's thick. It's twice the thickness of the cardstock I was going to use. So I might as well. Plus, it's already printed on both sides, so I don't have to cover it on both sides. I thought it was going to make the album move just a little bit quicker. I'm just kind of folding it, tucking it in, and then pressing, and then I'll make that fold a little bit better here in a minute. Now I'm definitely going to have to cover up that little fold there. So I'm just going to use another piece of pattern paper. That looks good. I like how it's not the exact same pattern, but it's like a coordinating pattern. And now I'm just going to go through my bin there and find some scraps that I can add just as an end there. And if I can find a good scrap, then yeah, that's the perfect scrap right there. Because what I can do is cut that actually in half lengthwise and use half the scrap on the left side and half the scrap on the right side of the pullout, and it will look like it was meant to be one long piece with those two, almost like borders, like end borders. So not sure if you're into mini albums or not, or maybe just getting started, or maybe you make them all the time. But I really like this paper for all kinds of, not just mini albums. I'm just getting into it really, so I'm still making a lot of little mistakes. But my first love was just traditional 12 by 12 scrapbooking. That's sort of my go-to. And then card making came after that. But it only came after that because I couldn't believe that I had all this paper and all this stuff that card makers had, and then someone's birthday would come along and I was still going to the store and buying a card. I made myself mad, so I just learned to make cards. That looks really good. Now I'll definitely have to put a magnet there to hold that down, that flap down. And I'm sure I'm going to have to put magnets in here too, but I'm going to do that later. I just want to get the base, like the basic page made. And then I think photos can go inside the accordion there. I mean, a photo can go there, but yeah, this looks really good so far. I'm going to use some of that thin craft cardstock to suggest where to put some photos. And maybe like wallet photos, I think would be perfect. You know what I'm thinking of? If you're giving this as a gift, this album as a gift, it would be so cool to have spaces for wallet photos, because I'm sure, you know, you've got nieces, nephews, just school age, family members that, maybe you've got some of those pictures of them, and it would be fun to put them in an album. We keep the ones on our fridge. We have a family member that her whole fridge is covered, like from top to bottom, basically, of all family members. It's so cute. So this is another one of those tags from the back of the packaging. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in half, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to use a brad here. Yeah, just to keep that metal, that steampunk type theme going. And but what I am going to do is put the brad in there first, because it's not really going to serve a purpose. It's just more decoration. I don't want to get too hung up on metal and the magnets and the embellishments right now, but I want this to be part of the base of the page, and then I can always embellish over top. But yeah, and that metal box, I think that is from Stampin' Up. I have had that forever. It just doesn't go down. Like, you use one thing, it's like you don't even scratch the surface of using it. It lasts a really long time, and I am so glad I have it. Okay. So we've got our little photo areas, and I think I'm just going to use some score tape and get those down on the page. Now here, just putting a little score tape on the back, and also making sure to put a little piece over top of where the brad attaches. Now for a minute there, I thought I was going to use some foam. I have a little tray or a little bucket that I keep fun foam and double-sided foam. But then I thought, no, let me just leave it flat. Sometimes less is more, and that is going to look so good. So that on the bottom, and then we've got the other one on the top. That's so perfect. I love it. It looks great. Yes, very, very good. I think I'm going to put another photo mat over there in that big area. It's probably not necessary, but sometimes I feel like if you just suggest something in the mini album, then people understand where to go from there. So this will be a photo mat for like a 4x6 size photo, and yeah, we're about done with this page. I'll just ink the edges and stick it right there. So yeah, definitely check out the rest of the video tutorials. There's 6 total, and there'll be a link in the description box to the playlist, and also to the next one after this one and the previous one before. Also, again, check out the Sandpaper Road blog for specific measurements for the spine and cover if you're interested, and just the basic pages. And also, if you're interested in picking up the paper collection by Craft O'Clock, and you live in the USA, you can pick it up at the Sandpaper Road shop. So fun. I really, really love it. This is coming along really nicely. Yes, we will definitely add magnets there. So let me show you how this is going to look inside the album. Again, in the first video, we made the cover and the spine. Then in the second video, we made page 1, which will go right there. And it's got interesting flaps and stuff and pull-ups and things like that. Then in the next video, we made page 2. And that will go right there. Eventually, that looks really good. And now we've made page 3. This is looking really, really good. I like it. So thanks so much for stopping by. Thanks for subscribing. And we will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.